Hello everyone, this is Bobbin Threadbare, and welcome back to The Longest Journey. Well, we've woken the sleeping giant. Let's see if the stickmen have anything to say about that. Or the crossbow.
Who built that big crossbow in the tree?
I did. Well, I thought of it, and these two nincompoops gave a helping twig on the, manual side.
So they built it, and you supervised.
Yep, but it's not done. There are still a few pieces missing before we can blast off for Luna.
Wait, what?
Did you say blast off for Luna?
That's what I said, Luna.
As in the moon?
The same.
You intend to go to the moon using that thing?
Lunar cannon. And yes, that's the plan.
You guys are loonies!
If by loonies you mean visionaries, then yes, we are.
How come you're not working on your lunar cannon now?
Because of that infernal noise is why.
But Quammen stopped snoring already.
Yeah, but how long will that last? Sooner or later he'll go back to sleep, and then he'll start snoring again. I'm not going to start working only to be interrupted all over again.
I'll see you guys later then.
If you don't step on us first.
Alright, well the crossbow is the best way to get up to the top of the mountain, the volcano. And I just realized I should probably use the loudspeaker to talk to Quammen.
Hello, Quammen?
I have to go for it.
I'm God.
God? Who be that?
God is... Forget it. That's just one big minefield. I was just... Bad joke is all.
Quammen, always the butt of joke.
Where are you, Quammen?
That be a secret. Quammen want to be left alone.
Could you please stop snoring?
Quammen be snoring? No one ever tell Quammen he be snoring. But then Quammen always be sleeping by his lonesome. No woman like Quammen.
Don't say that about yourself, Quammen. I'm sure that... You know, it's kinda uncomfortable to be discussing this in a public like this.
Yes, everyone be hearing about Quammen now.
Do you want to talk about your problems? Face to face?
What be the point?
I'm a good listener, and I'd like to be your friend. That'd be the point.
Quammen not sure if he want friend now.
Please let me be your friend.
Why?
Because I'm lonely too. I don't really know anybody on this island, and I need some help.
Well, Quammen be wanting to help, but... Okay. Quammen be your friend, and talk to you. My secret place be in the ruins of the old temple, by the wells. Follow the stream up from the rock beach, and go right where it branches.
Thanks, Quammen. I'll be there as soon as I can.
Alright then. And now we can go visit Quammen. God damn, he's big. What can we click on here?
It's another one of those statues come phone booths. They must have been popular in their time. That's Quammen, the not-so-quiet giant.
Oh, climb down there.
It's a deep well with cold, brackish water and some seriously demented albino fish. Whoa, you are big. You're just about the biggest person I've ever met.
Quammen be a freak. No one be liking him.
I didn't mean it that way. I just meant... April, you know just what to say, don't you? I'm sorry. I like tall guys. Really, I do.
You be the only one then, because no one else want anything to do with Quammen.
Wonder why he hunches.
How did you come to be on this island?
That be a long story. Do you want Quammen to be telling you?
It's the longest journey. You always hear the long story.
Sure, I have time. Tell me the story.
Many long moons ago, Quammen be happy. He be working at the circa in Khorasan, where he be big attraction.
What did you do?
Quammen be the world's strongest man. He be popular. People come to see him from all the Northlands. Some even from east of the Bay of Fire. But then there be an accident, and the circuit tell Quammen to leave, that he be dangerous, and that no one be paying to see him anymore.
What kind of accident?
Quammen's most popular feat be the breaking of large rocks with his fist. Everyone would applaud when the rock be breaking. Then one day, the Caliph be at the circa to see the performers. He be saying, Quammen, I hear of him breaking a large rock with his fist. This I want to see. But my performance be over that day, and there be no rock to break. So the circa ringmaster Obran, he be saying, let's get a rock in here, any big rock at all. So they bring in this rock that Quammen never be crushing before. Quammen not be sure if it is a good idea, because rock can be dangerous when it breaks. But Obran be saying, this you must do. The Caliph wants to see we do not disappoint the Caliph of Khorasan, or we lose our heads. So Quammen break the rock, and when it breaks,
What happened?
there be large pieces of rock flying everywhere, and one piece be hitting the Caliph and one his son. The Caliph be not seriously hurt, but his son be unconscious and bleeding from the head. They say to Quammen, run, get away from the circa in Khorasan, or the Caliph will have his head. So Quammen run, and he get passage on ship leaving that night. When the ship passed this island, Quammen be jumping into sea and swimming ashore. And now he be here.
What happened between you and the Orlawal?
Oh, Quammen be so clumsy, so dangerous. He should not be among people. He be only hurting them. The Orlawal be kind, letting Quammen live and fish in their village. But then Quammen be stepping over a young Orlawal, almost breaking his shell. The Orlawal tell Quammen to leave village, to not come back because he may kill an Orlawal. They tell him to go as far away as possible. Quammen be sad because he liked the Orlawal, and because Quammen be having the best fishing place and all of Elias. He loses his friends and his food.
What do you eat now?
Quaman fish in these wells here. But the fish that live down there be small and not very tasty.
Could you find another place to live where your snoring won't disturb everybody on the island?
No. Quaman be having no other place to go except his old home in the Allawal village. But they be not wanting him there.
Would you like to move back to the Orlawal village?
Oh yes. Quaman be wishing that more than anything in the world.
I saw an Orlawal down by the beach, just outside the village. It seemed to be in pain, but I didn't know what to do. Perhaps if you come along, you can help him out, and get back in favor with the Orlawal people.
Yes, perhaps Quaman can help, even if the Allawal do not want him back.
Here it is, the, Orlawal. Can you help it?
Perhaps Quaman can help. Poor Allawal. He'd be crying for help. Quaman see what be wrong. The Allawal not shed its shell when time come, and now it be stuck in the shell.
Why didn't the other Orlawal come to its assistance?
Their claws be no good for this work. They be helpless. But Quaman help. Quaman be good with his hands. Quaman be happy. Quaman accept your graceful thanks, sir. Thank you. You be making Quaman very happy. Quaman accept your offer and be grateful to the Allawal people. Thank you very much.
What? What did he say? Why did you thank him?
Allawal be inviting Quaman to stay on the cliff above the village, where he can fish again. Quaman be very, very happy now.
You understand what it's saying?
Allawal language be easy to understand. It be just click and clack and clock.
I'm so happy for you, Quaman. Go on. Don't let me hold you back.
All right, then. Everybody's happy. Let's go talk to him. Maybe he can help with the crossbow somehow.
Hey, Quaman, how's the fish biting?
With its teeth? But not today.
Why's that?
Quaman be not certain. The fish always bite before, but then Quaman be having lure. Now no lure, just bait.
What do you need to make a lure?
Quaman can make lure with just anything, as long as it be colorful and not get heavy in water.
You're a real DIY guy, don't you know?
Always be something wrong with Quaman.
That was actually a compliment.
Oh.
Aw.
Are you happy now, Quaman?
Quaman be happy. He be wanting fish to bite. But if they do not, Quaman still be happy.
Can I borrow your fishing rod?
Quaman must catch fish first, so he can eat. After Quaman catch fish, April can borrow fishing rod.
Happy fishing.
Thank you.
Okay, so something colorful that doesn't get soggy.
It's a colorful candy wrapper.
This could work.
Could this wrapper work as a lure?
Yes. Yes, with some work. It'd be perfect for a lure. Now Quaman can make one, and hopefully catch many fish.
Okay.
Hello, Quaman.
Hello, April.
Happy fishing.
Thank you.
Well, I guess you can't catch a fish instantly. So, Let's go see what the stickmen are up to, now that the snoring is finally going to stop for good.
How come you're not working on your lunar cannon now?
Because of that infernal noise is why.
But Kwame has moved back to the Orlowal village. He's not going to disturb you again, trust me.
Really? How the heck did that happen? Nah, I don't care. The important thing is we can work again. Thanks, lady.
Alright, off they go. Their slow stickmen way. I was hammering the escape key during the sequence, by the way. But for whatever reason, the game wouldn't let me skip it. I can't click on anything. I can't get out of this. I just have to sit here and wait and watch as two stickmen completely round the corner. Because that is the only time I will get control back. There we go. Jeez. And here they are.
I'd be happy to talk to you later, but I got some fine-tuning to do before I'm done.
Can't talk. Busy.
How's it going?
Almost there. Oh, one tiny little problem, though.
And that is?
We don't have a bowstring for our,
Propulsion drive mechanism, Wick.
what he said, yeah, we need a bowstring. Something strong and flexible and sinewy.
Like what?
I don't know, lady. I'm no engineer. I'm just a supervisor.
String made from animal guts would be perfect.
Yeah, but look at us. Do we look like the kind of stickmen who'd make good hunters? Do you see me going after a gate beast carrying what? A comb? A dry leaf sharpened to a razor edge?
Okay. Well, I think a fishing line would be thin and tough enough to do that job. And now that the giant is finished eating...
Looks like Kwame just had himself a solid lunch. That was quick. There are only bones left of his catch.
And apparently we're taking one. Okay.
The remains of Kwame's catch, and a very convenient shape it is, if I may say so. Like a hook. It's Kwame's fishing rod. I don't figure I'll be needing the rod anytime soon, but I'll borrow the line.
Yes, borrow. Well, he did give us permission.
Did my lure work okay?
It be working very good. Quamon catch a large, tasty fish very quickly. April be wanting a taste?
No. No offense. I'm just not too fond of seafood.
This not be seafood. It be human food.
Imagine she's been eating seafood.
What's Kwame gonna be doing now?
Quamon be sitting here until the sun sets. Then he be going to sleep.
And tomorrow?
Quamon be deciding that when he wakes up in the morning.
Man, you got relaxing down to a fine art.
Quamon not be knowing anything about fine art. He be a Philistine.
I'll see you later, Kwame.
So will I. Goodbye.
I know it's the whole all-tongue thing, but it's kind of weird to hear him talking about Philistines in another dimension. Okay, so, fishing line.
It's a long, strong, and flexible fishing line. I borrowed it from Kwame's fishing rod. I'd better show it to Wick first, or he'll freak out. After all, he's the, supervisor. Can you use this as bowstring for your, lunar cannon?
Let me see that. Oh yeah, that gonna work good.
Okay.
All right, listen up. I got us what we need. And now we finish this damn cannon. Go to work, people. Give us a few minutes, lady, and we'll be all done.
It worked.
Of course it worked, you wood-brained fool. I built it.
According to Wick, it's a lunar cannon. Apparently, it's powerful enough to send a stick man to the moon. Oh, sure, in a Jules Verne novel, perhaps.
Even he used a real cannon.
It's Stickman Wick. Are you done?
Yes, ma'am. The lunar cannon is now ready to be tested.
Well,
Well, what?
are you gonna do it?
Do what?
Test the cannon.
Me? And get myself killed? I think not. But go ahead, be my guest.
I don't think I'll fit in there.
That ain't my problem.
He's too thin for April.
Can I test the cannon?
Be my guest.
Yup, the cannon is done. I feel like sleeping for a year or two.
Hey, all done. And Wick did absolutely nothing. As usual, aside from shouting a lot and kicking mine and Woody's arse.
It's like I can't actually interact with the cannon. Can I set this up in there? No? Give it to anybody? I mean, being lighter would help, but it wouldn't make her fit.
I'll save it for when I really need it. If I could somehow get across to that path on the other side, I'd probably be able to make my way into the Elation village.
The tree is an obvious target, but I can't target it directly.
If I could...
I mean, click on it directly, I mean. It's too big for April. What I could really use would be some kind of rope. And then I use the fishing line. Let's see. None of my potions help. What about Crow?
I guess he's not around. Can I test the cannon?
Be my guest.
Nothing new there. Hang on, I just finally remembered. There is a rope on this island. I used it earlier. Apparently I will need to reuse it. Okay. Let's hook it on here. I've got a grappling hook.
The rope's got a hook-shaped fishbone tied to it.
Put this on here, and now I've got a grappling hook. Alright, so now we can put the grappling hook into the cannon.
I'll just place the hook along the bowstring, like so, and let the rope trail behind it. Okay, we're ready to fire.
Guess we should use that lever then. And apparently it's secured on this end somehow. So April will use her massive upper body strength to climb across. Almost there now.
There's a slight updraft here. The wind is channeled through that chasm down there and blown out and up here. It's a leathery creature with wings, like a mix between a giant bat and a pterodactyl. Must be one of the Elation. It looks more like a warrior than a storyteller, though. I hope it speaks English. I mean, Altung.
Finally, she gets it right.
Can you help me across?
You are human, and we don't allow human strangers into our village. If you wish to trade, let us know where your ship is anchored, and we will send traders to you with our merchandise.
I don't have a ship, and I didn't come here to trade. I came to talk to your leaders.
I'm sorry, but we don't allow strangers into our village.
Actually, I am a trader.
Where is your ship anchored?
In, Coconut Grove?
There is no coconut grove on Elias.
So, I'm not a trader, but I am a friend of the Elation people.
We don't know you. There is no friendship between strangers, human.
Don't your people have a prophecy about a stranger who comes without a ship, or something like that?
I don't know of any prophecies, human.
What kind of prophecies do you know about?
We don't tell our stories to strangers.
What's up this road?
The Elation village of Tamar.
Where's the Elation village of Tamar?
Up this road and into the volcano.
Isn't it dangerous to live inside a volcano?
This volcano has not erupted for thousands of years, and the gods protect us. We are safe here.
Is there another way to get into the volcano?
No, this pass is the only way.
I'm sure there's a secret cave somewhere that leads into the volcano.
No, there isn't.
There's always a secret cave.
Not here.
Are you absolutely sure there's no secret cave?
Human, you talk too much, even for an Elation.
Thank you.
Yes, but you must leave now.
You know, I have to say he's been really patient with April. Yeah, as for getting across, if we make ourselves lighter, that should help.
Oh, God, I think I'm gonna throw up. That was so not appetizing. Weirdest thing, though, I do feel lighter. Like I lost 90 pounds. I can't even imagine what people would pay for this stuff back home. Whoa, I'm fly! Not. I guess I still weigh too much to be carried on that slight updraft.
In that case, how about we boost the updraft? With a little wind.
That's the last of it, unfortunately. Ah!
Human, you flew across the chasm. You don't have wings, but still, you fly like the Elation.
Believe me, I'm as shocked as you are.
Are you the Windbringer?
Of course.
What's the Windbringer?
It's a prophecy amongst my people.
Of course, there's no escaping the prophecies.
It's said that someone not of the Elation shall come among us to float on the wind like an Elation, to learn our stories, to bring the wind back to us, and to bring us into a new and happier age.
Is that all? You know, I'm starting to forget how simple my life used to be. Family, friends, grades, boys, no prophecies, nobody looking to me for salvation.
I don't understand, Windbringer. You should speak with our teller up in the city. She'll be wanting to see you, I'm sure. We've waited for the Windbringer for a very long time.
The teller? Thanks.
No, Windbringer, thank you.
You know, I bet he was lying about that secret cave, too. Today's novel could be considered one of the earliest examples of alternate history fiction, and it certainly inspired good old Harry Turtledove. It also features some time travel, but it's not clear how or why that travel takes place, so let's call it magical realism. Why not? The book in question is Lest Darkness Fall, written by L. Sprague du Camp in 1939. About the author. L. Sprague du Camp, first name Lion, was born in the year 1907 in New York City. His father was an influential businessman, and so he was well off growing up, but unfortunately his parents were part of a generation that believed that you needed to treat your kids harshly to toughen them up, and they didn't like how their son was turning into a reedy intellectual. So they shipped him off to military school for 10 years, a place that did nothing for him but make him miserable. When de Camp graduated and moved on to college, he went to the other side of the country from his parents and enrolled at Caltech to study to become an aeronautical engineer. He got his master's degree in 1933 and then started working various engineering jobs up through World War II. During the war, he joined the US Navy as a reserve officer and researcher, and would reach the rank of lieutenant commander before the war's end. At the same time, de Camp was writing both fiction and nonfiction works. His approach to fiction was very much in Asimov's vein, a cool analytical tone, stories that are more about ideas and events than they are about characterization, and hard science fiction that avoids ideas and topics that de Camp thought were impossible. De Camp's works also feature a lot of linguistics and historical information, since those were his interests outside of science. Now go figure, but this interest in history led de Camp to write fantasy works as well. But his scientific grounding caused him to create some of the first magic systems to use specific, rational laws of operation. De Camp collaborated with Fletcher Pratt to write the Harold Shea series about a psychologist who visits parallel worlds where myths are real, and he would write stories set in Robert E. Howard's Conan setting. Today's novel, Lest Darkness Fall, shares a lot in common with Mark Twain's A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, and that is very much intentional. You could say that the story is de Camp's response to Twain's work, a new take on the same premise, but with a different result. It was originally published as a short story in Unknown. That's a pulp fantasy magazine that was John W. Campbell's companion to the famous Astounding science fiction. For Unknown, Campbell wanted impossible stories that still fit within a plausible set of rules, and that's exactly what de Camp delivered. He would later expand Lest Darkness Fall to a novel length, and that version, which I am discussing today, came out in 1941. And I believe I will use that as my cue to begin the story. The book begins in the present day, although present day in this case means Mussolini's Italy, just before World War II. Our protagonist is Martin Padway, an American archaeologist who's come to Rome to work on his doctorate dissertation with a local scientist named Tancredi. Padway is a very dry, scientific sort of man. He's got an estranged wife back in the United States, and he stays in the present day just long enough for Tancredi to explain his theory about multiversal time travel before getting zapped back in time by a bolt of lightning. It takes Padway some time to accept what just happened to him, since it's such a ludicrous idea, but he eventually accepts the fact that, yes, all of the cars in Rome are now horses and carts. No, he's not hallucinating or insane, and in fact, the people around him are speaking a language somewhere between vulgar Latin and modern Italian. Fortunately, as an archaeologist, Padway is somewhat fluent in both, and is thus able to speak to the locals with some difficulty. Padway eventually pieces together that he is still in Rome, but the year is now AD 535. He's familiar with this time and place in history, and so he knows that the Western Roman Empire has fallen by this point, and the current ruler of Italy is Theodahad, king of the Ostrogoths. And just as a heads up, I am not even going to try to pronounce these names correctly, and so I will just stick to pronouncing them based on how they're written. Anyway, Padway knows that within a year, the Eastern Roman Empire, lately called the Byzantines, will invade up the Italian peninsula and defeat the unprepared Ostrogoth forces. But the Goths will rally in a few years, and as they wage war against the Byzantines, the Italian cities, and Rome in particular, will suffer and depopulate from all the sieges and massacres. and eventually the Germanic Lombards will invade from the north and conquer most of what's left of Italy. Rome's depopulation would come in 546, when the current Ostrogoth king sacks it after defeating the Byzantines. However, Padway does not despair. Instead, he remembers Tancredi's multiverse theory and decides that he's on a new timeline, which means that he can change history and not worry about paradoxes. Still, the first thing to do is to make a living, so Padway visits a money changer to sell his Italian lira coins and get some local currency. He then goes to a moneylender named Tomasus the Syrian to ask for the first of many business loans. Tomasus is skeptical of this strange foreigner at first, and so Padway proves that he's got some good ideas by introducing Tomasus' secretaries to Arabic numerals and the concept of zero. Tomasus is impressed, since Arabic numerals are much more effective than Roman numerals for accounting, and so Padway gets his loan. Padway decides to start by introducing something simple and with a guaranteed demand: distilled liquor. Romans usually drink wine, so Padway convinces a smith to make him some crude copper piping and invents brandy. Sure enough, it takes off. A month after starting his business, Padway starts hearing about the approaching Byzantine invasion, and so he decides to be a little more politically proactive in what he introduces. Thus, his second business venture is a printing press. He has a great deal of trouble designing the first one, presumably because he doesn't know that the original printing press was a repurposed wine press, plus he needs to invent a new kind of paper using wool, but he eventually gets it up and running. Padway makes a point of starting small, printing literacy texts for schools, but he also takes some time to create a newspaper. The Scribes Guild doesn't like that he's muscling in on their territory, and so he offers to pay them to write stories for his paper. One scribe writes a couple of political exposés, and while Padway can't print them since there is zero freedom of speech, he makes the scribe his editor as he moves on to other projects. Padway does run into a few dead ends, either because he doesn't know enough about the technology or because the local artisans aren't up to the challenge. His gear-based clock is a complete failure, and when he later tries to invent gunpowder, he fails to get the proportions right. However, he does invent a primitive telegraph system. It uses strategically placed towers, semaphore, and spyglasses to transmit information between cities in a matter of minutes rather than hours. Incidentally, he convinces the Roman patricians and nobility to invest in the semaphore telegraph after he gets arrested when a former employee of his accuses him of witchcraft. Padway's inventions start him climbing up the social ladder despite his best efforts staying out of politics. And so eventually the Gothic king Theodahad asks to see him at the Gothic capital of Ravenna. Sadly, Theodahad is too much of a scholar to care about the upcoming war, plus he's in the early stages of dementia. He also takes offense when the Telegraph spreads news of his son-in-law's defection, so he orders it shut down despite its strategic usefulness. Not long after, Padway angers Theodahad's son by refusing to be bullied around, and so the son accuses Padway of treason and has him locked away in a remote prison fort. Then the son joins him there, because the Gothic elders have deposed Theodahad and installed General Witigis as their new leader. At this point, Padway makes a decision. He really doesn't care whether the Byzantines or the Ostrogoths win the war, he just wants someone to win quickly so that they won't ravage the Italian cities and countryside. However, since he has a better chance of getting the Goths to listen to him, he decides to help them win the war. So he finishes off the escape plan he was working on, and gets away by using tactics no one would have known about in the 4th century. Theodahad's death was well documented in the history books Padway read, so he shows up on the road Theodahad races down, offers his help, and, almost by accident, kills the man King Witigis sent to murder him. Padway then gathers some loyalist troops and heads down south to stop the Imperial army. He does so, despite the Imperials' better training, by forcing the Goths to use artillery to throw stink bombs into their camp and attacking at night. Padway even captures the enemy commander, Belisarius, and while he tries to recruit him, Belisarius remains loyal. Still flush with victory, Padway takes his troops to Ravenna, where he stops Witigis from marrying into the royal family and cementing his position. The woman Witigis would have married, Madaswentha, takes an interest in Padway after that, as she turns out to be much too bloodthirsty for his liking. Plus, he prefers to be the power behind the throne, and she'd rather be on it. As for Witigus, Padway imprisons him, but keeps him alive to use his leverage against Theodahad. But that doesn't turn out to be necessary, because Theodahad soon has a complete mental breakdown, and Padway convinces the Gothic elders to elect his friend Urius as the new king, by using modern campaigning tactics. Padway also gets Madaswentha interested in Urius, so she'll leave him alone. During this time, Padway sends an insulting peace demand to the Byzantine Emperor Justinian, and Justinian responds by disowning Belisarius, whom he distrusted before, and by sending even more troops to Italy. So, as Padway placates Italy's other neighbors, he issues an order in the king's name to free any serfs who volunteer to fight for the Goths, and he then maneuvers the imperial army into a choke point, where they get slaughtered by the Ostrogoth and peasant ambush and Belisarius's flanking attack. The book ends soon after this. History has definitely changed, Padway's inventions have taken root, and this time the Dark Ages promise to be a little less dark. The analysis. Much like the Honor Harrington series, Lest Darkness Fall was written as a response and an homage to an earlier work. In this case, it's a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court. But while I preferred Hornblower over Harrington, in this case, I have to say that I prefer the newer story. In Connecticut Yankee, an engineer named Hank, living in what was then the present, is transported back through time to the 6th century AD, and while he almost gets burned at the stake for being a strange foreigner, he successfully predicts a historical eclipse and uses that to position himself as a magician. He then builds up a power base by using science to outdo and embarrass both magicians and holy men, and using his power, he industrializes the peasants behind the backs of the nobility, and does his best to debunk superstitions wherever he finds them. Hank wins over King Arthur and marries a noblewoman, but the Catholic Church has become very upset with him and has plenty of supporters outside of England. So they trick the time traveler into leaving the country for a while, they tear down his supporters while he's gone, and when he returns, they trap him and his remaining supporters in a cave. Eventually, Merlin casts a spell on Hank, the only real magic in the entire book, and he wakes back up in the present day. With all the supporters dead and all those machines destroyed, the present is the same as it ever was. That or it was all just one long hallucination. Reader's choice. Mark Twain was making a rather pointed argument about superstition versus science in this book, and he includes religion as a kind of superstition, which is why the Catholic Church and Merlin are both main antagonists. It also tears down the romanticism of chivalry by having knights and nobles act like ignorant buffoons, and stressing the oppressive nature of a feudal monarchy. This was specifically to satirize the romanticism of the Southern gentleman, who until recently had lived like a gentleman by oppressing black slaves, and who at that point was maintaining his wealth by oppressing black sharecroppers. That's why the egalitarian time traveler is specifically a Yankee, a Northerner. Now that's all well and good, and Connecticut Yankee certainly says all that Twain wanted it to say, but DeCamp uses that premise and goes in a different direction with it. While Twain depicts the medieval English as being childish and easily fooled, DeCamp's characters are essentially normal people who simply don't know about all of the things we've discovered and invented over the centuries. The Roman patricians are old money families who turn up their noses at doing a hard day's work. The Goths are a rough people with juvenile ideas of glory and personal combat. The Byzantines are professional soldiers who attack, maneuver, and surrender in good order, and the barbarian tribes to the north make exaggerated claims of their combat skill, mostly so they can bargain for tribute in exchange for not raiding. The point is that DeCamp's medieval Italians are ordinary people, not a bunch of gullible sheep. Certainly religion and witchcraft are taken much more seriously than they are in modern Europe, but you still encounter a range of different beliefs, and people who are more willing to listen to a bribe than they are to charges of sorcery. You don't see anyone looking at pigs in a sty and deciding that they are princesses being held captive by an ogre, which is something that happens in Connecticut Yankee. In addition, Padway's goal is not to take over or become the boss, which is what the peasants call Hank. Padway's goal is to educate, to recreate the inventions that had the greatest societal impact and then spread the knowledge of how to make them as far and as wide as possible. That way, the inventions won't be lost just because one shop or one city burns down. Padway considers his goals accomplished not when he becomes the de facto leader of Gothic Italy, but when he sees that people are copying his printing press and taking it to new cities. Hank tries to enjoy the past, but Padway's goal is to change the future. Now, the Dark Ages were never quite as dark as that name would have you believe, especially not outside of Europe. However, because Padway invented the printing press nearly 1,000 years ahead of schedule, and because of smaller but still significant innovations like the periodical, Arabic numerals, and the collar harness for horses, the future promises to arrive much sooner than it did in our timeline. Thanks for joining me again for today's book review, and I hope I'll see you next time for a fantasy musical parody.